Hello, I am Phoebe Fritz. This is the final presentation for my final major project. The game that I've made is Odyssey, a 2D Metroidvania using a pixel art style. The premise is you wake up in a strange world. You must travel the world to find the fragments of a celestial ticket to ride the celestial train back to your world. This is the gameplay for my video. For my game. It is long, but please enjoy. Hello, my name is Phoebe Fritz. This is the full narration of my gameplay video. I'm not sure exactly what it is I have to talk about, so I guess I'll just kind of waffle as I go through. This game is a 2D pixel art Metroidvania. This art that you see here is of the player character. Does he not look cool? He does. This is the only asset in the game that is not pixel art that I have created, not including these obviously menu buttons and this background. Everything else was made using pixel art in Aseprite, or this was created in Procreate. Here are the instructions. You've woken up in a strange land and must search the world to find fragments of a ticket to the celestial train to return back to your world. These are the controls. I know them, so I won't go through them, but they are here for people who need them. The credits are here, and these are the settings. We'll be putting this on low, so you won't be hearing much of the music. But I do want you to hear some. It's just I don't want my voice to be drowned out. These do work independently from the master volume. This is for customization purposes. To start the game, we load into the first area. This is you, the player. The sprite, like I said, just like these tile sets, were made in Aseprite by myself. So we've just unlocked an ability called Dash. If you were to press the right mouse button, you dash forward. There is a little cooldown, and there is after images, which I really like. And this will help you just move through the world faster. You can also do it while jumping, which when you unlock the double jump will allow you to reach further distances in the air. If you were to press the left mouse button and hold it, for example, you just spam the shoot button and you shoot a storm of bullets. The enemies here are called strike snakes, and they're one of the enemies. They're the standard ground roaming enemies. Here are the doors that allow you to transition between scenes, and you can press the button if you don't want a rapid fire. In the top left corner, below my health, which I made using the Unity engine UI system, is a icon. If you notice that we got this after I picked up the dash ability, so here's a new one. This is the double jump. If you were to pay attention to up here, you unlock an ability, and the icon showing you what ability it is appears up here, so the player never forgets, basically. We also changed area. The area we were in used the field background asset, as well as the field tile set assets. Here, we are in a dark, kind of creepy forest, if you will, and the tile sets have changed. I will explain lots of these differences in the main presentation. This is just the gameplay version, so I won't get too deep into it here. When the player gets hit, you can see they flash for a couple seconds, and they make an oof sound. When they get hit and flash, they are invincible for about a second and can't get damaged until that invincibility window ends. This is to prevent you from getting ganged up on and dying within a split second. So we encountered a second enemy, which we've encountered here, and this is the third. This is a horrific spider that goes down and tries to eat you. They are the weakest enemy with the lowest health, being 1. They are supposed to be somewhat hidden and surprise you by, descending. The second enemy we encountered is this one, the Grump Bat. This is a grumpy bat, and they will pursue you to damage you. They go to a cool point before they then come down to damage you again. This is to prevent you, similar to the invincibility window, to prevent you from getting killed within a split second, and creates a level of behavior that you have to learn in order to engage and defeat the bat, rather than just spamming this like with the snakes and winning. This is the fourth and currently final enemy in the game, called Bugball. They blow up when they hit you. It is not an insta-kill, it is, just a damaging attack. It also kills them in the meantime. You saw that their death animation is different compared to the other 3 enemies, as it was an explosion, compared to the other abilities like the snake and bat and spider that was inspired by the death animation. I believe in Sonic. I could be wrong about that. I should probably know where I'm getting my inspiration from. I've never played Sonic. It was just something that we referenced in a past game jam that I wanted to again here. I should probably be aware of that. Here is the next ability, Push. Let's wait for that snake to go. God damn it. This allows you to push otherwise unmovable objects, including this, a big metal block, the natural forming block of the world. You push these out of your way or onto similar silver platforms known as pressure plates, and this will allow certain lock doors to open. I tried to go through before, not open because I had to put it on a pressure plate. If I were to remove it, it would be locked again, so it has to stay on it. Here is the first of 4 tickets. The first of 4 ticket fragments for the ticket that we have to form, and it fills up here. This is to show the player how many tickets they've got, and there are 4 of them in total. So, if we were to leave and backtrack to where we were, as the true Metroidvania loves to backtrack him, let's just spray all of those guys and make it back to the first. Oh, maybe not. Oh god, many enemies. Make it back to the first area we came to, or that we spawned in at, sorry. You notice that there were other ways to go. I immediately came down here because I know the order you are supposed to play this. You are next supposed to go over here. Now you're not. The push ability, you push it out your way. You would be unable to come here otherwise. So now we're in the third area of the game, which is the cave area. That enemy placement always tricks people from those who have played my game and play tested it because of the dark environment, which was the goal. So you come down here, big chasm, lots of snakes at the bottom, terrifying. You've got to come down here and push this to access this area. In Intuitive, I'm mixing mechanics into the main game. Isn't that amazing? Kill that guy. That was a very fast spider. And a bug bomb. Oh no! There's big damage, as you can see. If I were to let myself die real quick by this grump bat, you can see that I'm spawning in the area that I last, spawned in when I came to this initial area. This is to prevent significant backtracking by spawning in at the very start of the game. There is not a save or check system other than respawning where you last spawned in an environment map. There we go. That was done as it was a more convenient way of dealing with respawning and death. Here I unlocked Punch. This is an ability that you probably can tell what it does. It punches things, but specifically punching to break things. If I were to explore areas I could not go to, you would see where I may use or need to use this ability, but because I didn't explore, because I know how to play this game, being concise for the presentation, I will show you what it's used for. If you were exploring, curious to see where we needed to go, you would find a couple of instances of this block. This is a breakable block. You can see that it's cracked in the middle. If you were to press 1, this is the punch animation. And if you were to come to a breakable block and press it, it breaks it. This further adds obstacles, which in a fuller game, I could include more of when the game is bigger, with more areas, with more sections. Metroidvanias are known for levels of backtracking, using locked or previous locked abilities to measure progress and exploration. This game is obviously shorter because it's a prototype demo that I'm showing off for submission. In the future, this game will be expanded on, and there will be more instances of these blocks that you can break or that you can push if you have the right abilities in the way, so that it creates a level of curiosity within the player to return back to previous areas to unlock maybe certain secret items or other things like that. So if you're paying attention, which ideally you should be, of course, haha. Oh god, I unlocked second fragment of the ticket. I am halfway through beating the game, essentially. Speeding up a little bit. We go down here, punch the block. It's not so little, but still. You make it to the next area. This is the 4th area in this game. This is the dungeon area. And it is very red and scary with skulls everywhere. You should be scared. This is a scary place. You can see there's a breakable block, which we can do, but we can't go under here. It's because there is another ability we need to unlock in this area. Kill that guy that we get by progressing. There we go. The spaces between these platforms are larger to create a level of difficulty in parkour. We're supposed to mix the double jump and dash ability together in order to navigate. The player's kind of initiative and curiosity to mix the abilities is what is intended. So it's not just one ability per obstacle or challenge, but rather a mix of them. I thought that is cool. So we're in kind of a sewage pipeline system in the dungeon, filled with a lot of nasties and skulls, because a lot of people have died. Some of these skulls seem to be looking at me. Anyway, kill these guys and we do a bunch of annoying parkour. Hopefully I can do this without failing and looking silly. so annoying. Jeez. Okay. Try not to die in this area because it's a pain to get through and backtrack through. My God. Oh. I'm rushing now, and so I'm failing to do this. So these platforms or platforming sections are annoying, and it's supposed to be, I suppose, daunting to engage with, or I suppose challenging, as this is technically the final area of the game before the end area, essentially, so this is supposed to be the most difficult. Pushing that block down there is important. I'll show you why, obviously. You can jump down there, but you can also not, because some people might think it's a bad area. You go down here, you go through these rooms with some nasties. Oh, I completely forgot to mention, you have a sword that does damage. It's not refined as much as I want the swords to be, and I definitely want to work on it on the future. But this block, and you push down here, you push again down here, you fall down, you push the block over here, you jump up. I pushed the block up against the wall, and I kind of wasn't supposed to show you, but you can kind of see here, the player cannot simply double jump up on the platform. You need to use the environment and double jump to get up. I'm trying to think of newer and more interesting ways the player engages with the environment while utilising the abilities that you've got. The ability I've just unlocked is the final one in the game, Minimise. Turn into a nice little orange ball reminiscent of the shoulder design of the player's metal arm. And you can get through tight and small spaces in a 1x1 or spaces that are one tile tall, basically. You next have to go all the way back up here, over here, and drop down, and boom, you're back to where you started. This was a big donut shape. I am not sorry for making that, even though it's a pain to traverse through. Next, you backtrack back to this area. Pardon me. Kill these guys so they don't kill you. Break it, minimise, go through, you maximise, kill that guy so he doesn't kill you. There we go. And you get the third ticket. Wow, 3. You're such a wizard this game, Phoebe. I know, thank you, Phoebe. So you kill these guys, and then you backtrack again, as is the Metroidvania way. Back to the main field area. Oh god, come through. A good strategy for this game is baiting enemies like the Gromp Bat, Bug Bomb, even the snakes, to get on a level playing field to the player so you can easily shoot them. Makes things easier. And wow, we have the 4th and final ticket. The reason why this is here first, before the main area, I suppose, is to make the player interested and intrigued as to how you get there. This is common in the Metroidvania genre. I was trying to punch that for some reason. I don't know how to play my own game. Push that here. Oh god, you go back, you punch and you punch and you push and you bait and you shoot and you push. Oh god. Oh, I forgot how to play this game. I forgot how to jump. That was my fault. I was trying to click the right and left mouse button to jump and it's spacebar. I panic easily. So you come down here. Ooh. Oh god, almost dead, but we've made it to the final area in the game. The train station. We're on platform 1. If you came here before collecting the final ticket, this is a turnstile. You would not be able to pass it whatsoever, but as I have all ticket fragments creating a whole ticket, I can pass through onto the choo-choo train, and it turns to black as I return home. I turned home and beat the game, return to the menu, and I can start the game back over again. Thank you for watching. That is my game. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a pain to make. And it was a pain to sit through that. Currently through 2 takes in silence. But yes, this is the player character. They were designed with 2 primary philosophies in mind. 1, they had to look cool to appeal to a younger audience, and 2, I was inspired by the asymmetry inspired by Final Fantasy VII and that game's asymmetrical character design. These are the player assets. This one here is the running asset. What a cool guy. Here are the 2 double jump frames, which appear when you jump and double jump. The idle animation looks a bit more sped up here, as it's a GIF, but is slower in the actual game. And that is the animation for the minimize when you're in the ball. It's done to make it look like you're rolling when you are, well, moving, because you are rolling. On the left is the bullet design. That's what you shoot out to kill enemies. Then in the middle is the sword. And then the one on the right is the punch asset. Next is the enemies. This is the first enemy I designed, named Gruntbat. She's based on the sense of smell and a fusion between a pig and a bat, replacing the echolocation of a bat for the nose. Basically, they can see by smelling, like smell-o-vision. When Gruntbat smells something they don't recognize, they do not stop pursuing the source with aggression, and is my favorite enemy in the game. Next is Spider, the second enemy that I designed for this game. And like Gruntbat is based on the sense of smell, this is based on the sense of sight. She is a mother spider carrying the cluster of her babies on her back, and in her design philosophy I wanted to try and evoke trypophobia, I think that's how you pronounce it, which is a phobia of repeating patterns of circles and holes. And Spider like to hang upside down in high up places, surveilling their surroundings, waiting for unsuspecting prey to pass by as it drops down to ensnare and imprison food for her offspring to feast upon. Her offspring are seen on the back with those red, smaller eyes. What a horrific mother. Spider was initially going to have 2 different forms. One that is more inconspicuous, an eyeball hanging from above, looking around, and only when the player goes underneath will she reveal her true form, the hideous, infested mother that she is, when she goes to attack you. Next is Sting Snake, the third enemy of the game. It's based on the sense of taste and has a poisonous stinger on the end of its tail and can be used to paralyze their food. They strike their targets with intimidating speed, paralyzing their foes for easier digestion. It is not uncommon to see adult sting snakes unhinge their jaws and swallow a sleeping bovine whole. The fourth and currently final enemy in the game is Bomb Bug, which is based on the sense of touch. It's a small bug carrying a bomb, and they deal massive damage. Bug bombs live solitary lives, too fearful of other creatures carrying a bomb. They charge towards their target, with terrifying speed, detonating the bomb on impact. Not a very useful survival strategy, but definitely hurts if contact is made. It obviously dies on contact. There are 2 different death animations, one for Bug Bomb, which is an explosion on the right, and on the left is the animation for the other enemies. Next, these are the tickets. There are 4 fragments of a ticket that collect a whole ticket. This is seen in the top right of the UI menu, the UI of the main game. The full ticket, which is seen on the right, is not an asset used in the game, but that is what it looks like when you put them together. Next is the train station. I have a platform sign, which is supposed to evoke train stations or train station signs, and there is a turnstile that blocks you from entering if you don't have all 4 parts of the ticket. Pardon me, I yawned. And the train is blue for some reason. Don't know why it's blue, but I decided to make it as such, thus it is blue. Certain interactable objects in the overworld the player can interact with includes the aforementioned turnstile, as well as breakable blocks and unmovable blocks that, when pushed on a pressure plate, can unlock doors, and the gates. The doors that you go through to go from one scene to another. They open based on the player's proximity. Sometimes, like with a pressure plate, they would, need it to unlock the door, but it will open based on proximity and close when you leave, of course. Next are some UI ability icons. All of these icons link to their corresponding ability, each with a unique design to try to emphasize and show what the ability is that they represent and that you've unlocked and what they do. I decided to make them green and purple for the fact that they contrast each other. That's basically it for them. There are tile sets. Obviously, there are 4 of them, for the 4 major environments, including the field, forest, cave, and dungeon. They were made using Aseprite and were the first assets I made officially for this game. The first is the field tile set. The browns and greens are lighter, as the field is in an open area with sunlight. There are bloody spikes on the tile set that are not in the final game as of now. They are, or at least they were intended to be, hazardous tiles that if the player were to make contact with, they would die and need to respawn where they last spawned in at. I did not have enough time to implement them, but they were definitely something I planned to have. Next is the forest tile set. It uses darker greens and darker browns for the ground, as the forest lets in only some light, that is. The forest otherwise is fairly dark, and so darker colours were used. The darker tones were also intended to make the player feel a lot more uneasy and potentially dangerous to the more light-hearted and brighter colours in the previous scene. There are 4 different types of shrubberies and bushes that I used to put in both the forest and field environments to give a level of variation in what would otherwise be fairly flat plains. They are done on a different layer, so the player can walk in front of them while they can also walk on top of the actual tile sets of the game. Next is the cave. It's pretty much the same thing. These are the tile sets used in the cave areas that are moss on some of them in order to create a level of variety from the fairly repetitive cobblestone design of the tile sets. And these are the dungeon ones, along with moss and cracks to create varying tiles, essentially. There are also skulls to create a sense of danger, and paired with the red background, the player should be feeling a lot of that. I am not fully happy with the dungeon tile sets or the cave tile sets. I feel like they're both fairly repetitive. One, the cobblestones are repetitive, quite grey and monotone, not much variation. And while I generally like the tile sets of the dungeon, I don't like how there are lots of cracks on a lot of them, and there aren't any tiles that have no cracks, because when you put them together, I feel like the dungeon tile set is quite busy with lots of cracks and many different variations of moss cracks and moss with cracks and so on. Next are the backgrounds. The backgrounds in the game were made by a friend who attends another university. The name is Scott Herbert. They needed 40 hours of commission work on official projects, to which I thought we could help each other out. I can commission them to make the backgrounds, and they get some hours towards their 40-hour requirement. This saved me a lot of time, to which I'm very thankful. I'm not very good at environmental art, so Scott's edition really is fantastic. This is the field background. I wanted it to clearly show an open field, open sky. You can see this with the blue sky, that it's brighter and safer. It's not supposed to evoke an overwhelming or close sense of danger. The mountains at the back that are farther away, with the field in between, are supposed to imply that while there is danger, you are still relatively safe. Here, the forest is darker. The darker color palette is to evoke more of a dangerous and unsafe vibe. This is the second area that you will encounter, and the first one to evoke a level of danger. Next is the cave. Crystals were added to include some color to the piece, whereas before it was quite monotone, dark and grey and purple. I really like how this one looks and how deep the cave is seen to go. Next is the dungeon tile set. I would say my favorite. The red was used, to evoke a level of danger, with red symbolically representing that. These, like I said, were made by my friend Scott, and so the decision to use red here was theirs, but it does definitely work. They also had an animated torch for the dungeon level, which isn't in the current final build, as making that work would have taken some time, and I wasn't sure how to do that, but I do intend to include it moving forward. This is the illustration you saw in the start menus. This is the player. It's supposed to be falling through a blue sky area. I don't think I conveyed that it's supposed to be the sky as much. There could have been maybe ground far below, some clouds, but yeah, this is the only asset in the game that is not pixel art, and I use this using Procreate on the iPad. There are some unused assets. I mentioned previously the full ticket is not in the final game, as it just doesn't appear. It's not really used. And the bullet on the right is a second bullet frame that was not included in the final. Only one frame is used for the bullet. The reason why I didn't include the second is because the difference between them was fairly negligible and wasn't clearly identifiable when they actually appear in the overworld going across the screen. So I chose to remove it, as it was kind of pointless. Next is the generator. In the video, you didn't see the generator because it's not in the final game. This is something that I did include. Mechanically, it works, and there are assets for it. I just could not include it in the game to work in opening doors for the final submission. It's a time-based trial. There is a charge rift that the player engages with. You just stand on top of it. Your charge of electricity, a charge meter appears, and it slowly depletes over a set time. The time is dependent on where you are in the level or in the world. Some time trials might be longer than others, or some might be more complicated, and the time will vary for the level of difficulty of platforming that the player has to engage with. You have therefore a set time to make it through the scene or the part of the level to a generator and charge it up. If you fail, you can start it up instantly again. You don't have to reload the scene or anything. And charging up a generator was intended to open previously locked doors. But I could not get it in the final game. It does work mechanically. This is, and I have to clarify very clearly, a very, very early build of the game, with the visual assets being Creative Commons placeholders, which I used during the mechanical development of the game, which included the programming and making it just function. So the assets that you see, other than the ones that are from Unity, such as charge, health, and those bars, are not in the final game. They do exist within Creative Commons, but they are not in the final game, as I replaced all the assets with my own. Just have to clarify. But this is basically how it works. Here is the charge rift. You just go on top of it. It charges up the bar, and you go onto where the generator would be, and it would instantly deplete it to charge it up. It would then, in theory, unlock a door, but that part wasn't fully programmed in, and thus I did not include it in the final game that you'll see in. If I can just click off here. Oh, there we go. Another scrapped thing from this game is actually a enemy. This was the prototype of what would become the bug bomb. It was a fat bee with a bomb that would blow up when contact is made. I really wanted there to be a fat character in the game, and I kind of regret not putting one in. But due to the perspective and the silhouette, which would hide the bomb due to the larger body behind it, it would make it somewhat harder to tell what exactly you're looking at. The outline of the bomb is a dark black, similar to the black lines of the bee, and that further confused, along with the hands, of course, holding it, all four of them, would confuse what exactly the players are looking at. And so I decided to scrap it, and eventually Bug Bomb, that is in the final game, was the result of that. These sounds I did not create myself. I am obviously specializing in art. I probably forgot to say that at the very beginning. I have never created my own music or sound effects before. The sounds are from the same package that I got the placeholder visual assets in the video that I just played with the generator. They were from a Udemy course created by a man named James Doyle, who created a course on how to make your own Metroidvania, which is what I primarily used as reference to making my game. The screenshot here shows that every asset, including the sound, exists within CC0, Creative Commons 0. Therefore, I am able to use them in this current submission. Moving forward, I want to make my own sound assets. I think it will be quite fun, and it will be a very useful skill to have moving forward. And so after this submission, I intend to hopefully replace them with my own. Programming. Definitely the thing that I knew I would struggle with most, and something that I found so daunting and was actually fearful of engaging with in year 1 and 2, because I knew I had to for third year and I had no idea what to do. It kind of stressed me out. But I followed a Udemy course that my lecturer David Wright recommended, and it was by James Doyle, like I said, and it was a great tutorial. There are stuff on the tutorial that I did not get to include, such as minimap and boss fight. But moving forward, I definitely would like to add those to have maybe tougher fights, similar to Shovel Knight. You have general enemies and environment, but then you have special enemies, the bosses, that are more unique and have certain gimmicks about them that you have to, I guess, learn and overcome. David Wright is my I suppose, primary programming lecturer, and I have spent a lot of time with him in his spare time making this game, and for that I am beyond grateful. So, David, if you're listening, thank you. Naj, teaching assistant, who is both amazing at art and programming and helped me in both aspects. Art, I was struggling with certain forms of perspective, which Naj on multiple occasions helped give me some advice and referred me to certain resources that they use both on YouTube and Notion, I think it's called, to which, I find very helpful. Paul Sinnott is a programmer who works within the games industry but comes in and aids students at university, and he has helped me a few times, and he is also a fantastic wizard at programming. And then there's Samuel White, another student in my year, a friend, and someone who is, in my opinion, a fantastic game developer. They make great games. They know how to do a lot of stuff within Unity, C# programming, and more. Genuinely a great game developer, in my opinion. There are some scrapped ideas. So this is a Metroidvania about returning home on a train. Initially, I was going to have a fishing game that was centered around mentalization, inspired by my struggles with my mental health, which has been really bad over the past 3 years since being at uni. I'm in a much better place as of making this. Things have really changed for the better, and I wanted to make a game centered around mentalization to be soothing for people who are stressed, for example, that they can play to relax, and it's a kind of safe game to engage with. I scrapped the idea due to the potential of not having enough gameplay options or opportunities. I was thinking of having a Connect 3 type game where maybe there's different orbs and you have to connect 3 or more red or blue or green orbs in order to get higher scores, and based on your score there are different tiers of rarity, and you have a chance of getting different fish based on the rarity. You would put in a fish compendium like the Pokedex, and you would have different areas, a lake, an ocean to start with, but it will get freaky, like a mysterious haunted lake with ghost-like fish and spectre fish. Maybe similar to The Simpsons, where the three-eyed fish is from a kind of body of water that is polluted with radioactive material, so you have mutated fish. Maybe some Lovecraftian fish in a very mysterious lake. And it was going to basically revolve around collecting fish in the compendium and chilling out. I also considered making a turn-based monster fighting game. Initially, it was linked to the fish idea, that you're a fish exploring the ocean for your human companion, and you fight other fish, get rewards, and maybe similar to a roguelike, when you die, you go back for your rewards and you do another run. I decided to get rid of that, as turn-based gameplay is heavy in programming and other things like that, and would be very time-consuming, so I didn't do that. Odyssey initially started out as a game that was supposed to capture my experience living at uni, hence the trains, because London is known for its Transport for London underground and above-ground trains. There was going to be black mold creatures. That was the main theme of the enemies, because black mold in my student accommodation bathroom. Chose not to do that. I thought having it too personal would make the game less interesting for maybe other people and broader audiences, so I made it less personal. Thoughts on the game. I'm incredibly proud of the final product. I've never made a game before, and the idea that I have made a game is insane to me, and I'm proud of that. Even with the help that I got, it is something that I would not have been able to do without going to university, and for the fact that it is and was primarily made by me, not fully collaborative with other people doing different aspects of the game. I was also doing not just art, but programming, sound, other things like that. I'm proud. I'm genuinely proud of it. I I definitely was stressed and worried about getting stuff done, and there was stuff that I started to make and wanted to, but never made it into the final due to time restraints. When the game started to include my own assets, it started to look a lot better, and so those worries did start to dissipate over time. And I'm happy that it's playable and finishable without any game-breaking bugs. And it would not be possible without the support of my lecturers and peers, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I'm proud, and I think the enemy assets are the best in the game. I'm proud of them the most. I really like the assets. I think the weakest one could be the spider, due to the legs being thin and black, and then just grey or dark grey for the body. My favourite probably has to be Grumpig, but Sting Snake and Bug Bomb are both also really, really good, in my opinion. It's important to note that I've never really done pixel art before. I did briefly on Procreate for a different project, and I was definitely learning. It was new, and that program isn't used for pixel art, and so there were issues. And due to certain requirements I had to meet, it wasn't proper pixel art due to how high of a canvas we had to make things due to certain events that occurred. But this is the first time I used a new program, especially made for pixel art, and I thoroughly enjoyed using it. Aseprite, I think, is a great program, and I really like it. The backgrounds that my friend Scott made also are, I think, a very good highlight of the game. They are fantastic at, doing art and animation. They're on one of the hardest animation courses, not just in England, but I'm pretty sure in the world. I think it's like Hertfordshire or something, I can't remember. But they are great. I'm beyond happy with them. They've done amazing work. And I think living close to university, as I'm at student accommodation, allowed me to come in for help a lot more often, making help with one-to-ones with David or with Naj, Sam, Paul a lot more easy, as if I had to travel, especially long distance, I likely wouldn't do as much. I wouldn't consider asking for as much help, especially in person, and it probably would have affected my final product a lot. I definitely think there are a lot of things I could do better. I know that time management was a big factor in this game and its final product, for better or worse. I definitely think I had a time management issue, starting the art quite late. Motivation was a huge factor, as I struggled to engage with the work when I sat down to do it, making work being produced at a slower rate. I do think some of the sprites and animations could be worked on in the future. I mainly am thinking of the player here. I'm not very good with form and anatomy, and even though pixel art, you don't need to know too much anatomy, as often a smaller canvas size will break a realistic anatomy form. I do think that the legs, for example, when moving, could be done differently, working on the form of the legs to make it look better, as well as the general motion and position of them. I've never really animated before, especially 2D, especially pixel art, so that was also a first for me. I definitely want to include the charge mechanic in the final game, as I already started to develop it, and it would include more challenging opportunities of gameplay for the player. I also wanted to add environmental pickups that would give health to the player. So if you watch the video, which obviously you should have, when you took damage, there was no way to recover it, and the only way you could is if you died and respawned, which is not really ideal, of course. And so having certain pickups, maybe opportunity for enemies to drop them, or maybe just static spawns in specific areas, could definitely make players engage more with the game, maybe being more brave, engaging with the parkour and enemies instead of trying to be more protective due to no ability to regain health. There are more things, but I think these are generally the primary things here for the current game. Highlights of the development. must be the fact that I actually have a game, as an outcome. I definitely think that is the best thing about this game. Just genuinely, I never thought I'd be able to make a game, and I go to university and I have. It's amazing. This project has allowed me to also learn a new pixel art platform or program, called Aseprite. I've mentioned it a lot. It's the primary program I use for the art assets. I would never have bought Aseprite, even if I knew of its existence, if I didn't have a reason to motivate and push me to do so, which was this, project. And so without this project, I would never have used Aseprite, because I know what I'm like. I'm complacent and I don't try new things. And so that is also a highlight, that not only do I own the program because I bought it on Steam, but I know how to use it in at least the basics of it, and it's a really good program to use. During this development, I also learned how to program certain things. I learned what certain commands and statements mean within C#, as well as how to use more of the Unity engine. While it is not fantastic information that I can, that covers everything, I have a greater understanding of how certain things are supposed to be implemented, and settings for Unity, as well as learning what, like I said, things mean in C# more than I did before, that makes me more confident engaging in programming more independently moving forward. And again, having a base game that I want to work on in the future, and I do want to revamp it, which we'll talk about soon, is also a highlight, so I have something to build off of. Overview of the game. This is something I've been thinking a lot about for the past few months. The final game is based on my time in London. You're in a world, you don't know it, you want to return home, so you find tickets of a train to return home. The final game does not represent necessarily an underlying theme. The enemies don't really relate to the player or the train or why you're there or why you want to return home. It kind of just is. And having a guy with a metal arm that's really, really cool, he's a cool guy, kill creatures based on the 5 human senses to take a celestial train between worlds to go home using a torn up ticket doesn't really make much sense in an if you were to try and link it with an underlying theme other than it's a game. And so moving forward, I have an idea of what I want to do to improve this project. Using a similar idea of waking up in a strange world and journeying back to your home or to another destination using a train, I have come up with a new game idea. Finding yourself recently deceased, you've woken up in the in-between states of living. You must traverse the spirit world to collect soul orbs to unlock the gate, that's supposed to say, not game, gate to the spirit platform. Here you can take the spectral train to the beyond and allow your soul to rest in peace. The in-between is filled with vengeful spirits who have failed to pass on, who will trap you in the in-between with them for eternity. This is not a good thing. You don't want to be with them. There are also other demons who try to stop you from passing into the beyond, where peace will meet you. I can base the enemies on the 7 deadly sins as well as the 5 senses. For example, I have an enemy design in my head. I don't have it drawn to show, unfortunately, because I've been focusing on this submission of a kind of red kind of devil. I'm thinking kind of more cartoony, like maybe the general form of the Tasmanian devil in terms of how cartoony it looks in its silhouette, with horns. It's red, big mouth, and it's the gluttonous beast, and it's based on gluttony, but it can also be based on the sense of taste. They want to eat your soul, basically, and they are never satiated. Moving forward more practically, I plan to release the current state of the game onto itch. I want to make sure to polish the game further in its mechanics as well as assets and the folders within it. I think Unity is a bit messy. I just want to clean it up. And in terms of the assets, reworking the running animation, like I said, and including more frames within the jump animations, as well as the doors opening and closing, having a little animation when you break blocks, things like that. I would like to include. That's the polish. I will then work on the new idea about being recently deceased, meaning I'll change every art asset to fit the new style of the game. I imagine the color palette is similar to Hollow Knight. There'll be new enemies that actually kind of relate to why you're here and where you are, as well as some mechanics. Adding a mini map and a general map that might be large that the player can actually engage with in more detail is what I want to do. The mini map I can make, or at least a map of some kind I can make using the prior tutorial on Udemy or Udemy. I just don't know if it's specifically a mini map or a general map. I want to say it could be both, but I'm not entirely sure. And I would like to expand the scope of the game with more areas, so it's a more worthwhile purchase, that you don't just beat it in less than 2 hours. I also want to include my own original music, and I want to include major accessibility features than what I currently have. And I will be working on my skills and learning to make sound effects and music to make it happen. And I will be posting on social media more to spread my, digital footprint, to be more known for people in industry. I also have other projects I can work on. Some of them that are collab projects from Game Jams include the little Glorp and Prawn Toast. I can improve on the assets of the Glorp and Friends because I worked on the character designs as well as promotional material I have promised to make once uni was over, which is soon is coming, so I need to work on it for Itch Page. Prawn Toast, we've spoken about redesigning or reworking how the animations work and the positioning of the player character. That you're supposed to see the player character less at a 45-degree angle, but a side view, so I'll be redoing them with Toon Force at play rather than a more realistic movement of animation. Obviously, this will mostly be in the art department. Sound, UI, programming was something I never worked on, and it's other people's role. And working on this likely would include other people, so my role likely won't expand to other areas for these, which is fine. But these two games currently are on Itch. There is another game that I did for Game Specialism 2 that if I speak with the team, I'm sure people will be happy to work on, though other people's workload is different. They've got different commitments. Obviously, there's work for some of them. Others might get work, especially in industry full-time rather than part-time. So there's obviously going to be challenges with that, but I would very much like to work on the Game Specialism game. I do not know how or what the title is because it is intentionally long. It's basically a pirate game with mechs and magical girls. It's a very weird game. You fight Cthulhu and other sea creatures. But I would like for that game to be released ideally because I kind of like the idea. It's just not polished. It's why it's not currently up online. There is another game, a 60-second game, that if we were to rework, which it needs reworking due to some of the silly stuff that's in it, due to it being inappropriate, I think we could also include in the game because it does actually function. There's no bugs in it. It's just certain themes or certain inclusions I think could and should change for a more cohesive experience. And so hopefully, ideally, having those other two games up on my Itch page would be great. It will be the most ideal thing, but I've currently got two I can work on as well. I'm a member of a studio that people in my year want to start up called Go Team. It's a studio where we make games with accessibility in mind from the beginning, not added on at the end. There's currently some stuff going on with it, some uncertainty with the studio, as well as other stuff. There's quite a few of us in it, but hopefully this will continue to go. I'll be happy to work on it from the very start. I think that there's some amazing people part of it. Some artists, some programmers, some sound. So, it's promising. Just hopefully Go Team will become an official studio that can publish something as an indie studio. But that is also on the table for me as well. There's also different potential that exists. There's a lot I can work on. I just mentioned some projects as well as Go Team and the game that I'm currently working on that I can work on. Some are collaborations, and so some of it might be dependent on other people who worked on it previously. And obviously there's the game that I'm showcasing today. Time is a major factor, as I also want to develop my portfolio. I might want to do some art and animation for myself, personal projects. I want to develop my 2D art and animation, as well as my pixel art and animation. Ideally, I would practice 3D modeling and 3D animation for my portfolio, as well as sound design, all of which will hopefully be appealing to potential employers, which is very important. And all of this I can and will upload onto social media. It's just doing it. And there's a lot that I can do, clearly. I've gone through a lot. The thing that I don't want is to let myself down, be complacent in what I'm doing post-study, and not work on this stuff, because it will be letting me down and limiting my ability to work within the industry. I don't really want to work for Costa or McDonald's for my whole life, because I hate hospitality. Glass half empty. I'm fully aware that my art skills and other skills, including sound and 3D, have so much room for improvement. Learning Unity and programming, such as C# and other programs, including music programs, is going to be a huge hurdle, as I won't be having someone to learn from. It will be all independent, and so my ability to learn new stuff can be limited. I have limited access to Unity, C# and Maya, because my student access will go within 6 months of graduation, or maybe 6 months of this initial hand-in. I don't know. That's scary, because then I don't know how to learn these things and make games and other stuff using these programs if I don't have access to it, and it's a lot of money, especially access to it legally. So this is a big worry for me. But glass half full. I have to be optimistic for the future, no matter what. I have great support from my mum, as well as my friends, and who are also creatives, as well as lecturers at university, and even a couple from college. What I do have access to is Procreate on the iPad, Aseprite on my laptop and PC, and can work on my art, my 2D art animation skills in both of these, in both pixel art and non-pixel art styles. There is also Blender, a free 3D modeling animation tool, which I also plan to work on my much poorer 3D modeling and animation skills. There is also free music software like GarageBand on the iPad, which I do have access to, at least some of it. I don't know if it's limited on my iPad. There is also other free online sound softwares like Bleeper, and more that I have a list of somewhere on my OneDrive that I can also use to make music. This is all I currently have access to, and unless something happens, which I don't expect, will continue to have access to post-study, so I can work on my portfolio and explore creativity, and hopefully all will allow me to not only work in industry as a freelancer or full-time employee, but just work on my portfolio and get noticed. Post-study, I'll be taking a gap year to work on my portfolio and develop my skills and work on projects. I will have to share this time with a part-time job. There are concerns in my ability to work on my portfolio and my creative skills, as I will have to be sharing my time with a part-time job, and there are obviously moments of downtime and relaxation I want to engage with, that I'm worried will take up a lot of time that I could be using on my art and portfolio making skills. After that year is done, I'm considering attending another university closer to home to do a master's degree. This university, LSBU, that I'm at, currently doesn't do one for games, which is fine. But I'm aware that I can do some masters at Luton University. Do not know which ones they do. I could also travel into Hertfordshire and do a master's. It just depends on what they do. I've not looked into it because my primary focus is here and now with the game, and I will also be talking to my lecturer Rory Summerlee about it in the future. I will also be returning home, like I said, for my mental health, as I'll be continuing my main therapy there. And so being able to do a master's over there rather than here in London is ideal, and having a final year of SFE will make that much more possible. After 2 or so years, once I've finished my therapy, as I have to reliably be home for about 18 months to do it, and there's the waiting list to start it and so forth, I will have more flexibility in my living situation to where I can move to another town or city, including London, where I'll be closer to more job opportunities. So the initial post-study, I will have a strong limitation in the fact that I have therapy 2 days a week, because it's 2 days a week for 18 months, which is a big commitment, and it can limit my job opportunities if they're not looking for part-time but full-time. Working freelance could, in theory, work around this, but in the meantime, it's possible I could just be working on some more independent projects with other people or myself, build my portfolio, and when I am able to commit to the industry, the games industry, I can then focus even more and put myself out there and moving to most likely outer London, where I travel in for work, if I have to be there in person in the future. My God, it is over. Thank you for listening. I really hope you enjoyed, and I am so sorry it is a long presentation, but yeah, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.